Hello, folks. I'm Joe Wesley of J&L Creative Solutions, and I want to thank you again for visiting us. For those who are seeing us for the first time, we appreciate that. For those who are coming back, we appreciate it even more because you see the value in coming back to us. The purpose of this program, or the theme of it is, are you prepared to take the hot seat challenge to discover an ingredient of your secret sauce? And why is that important? What do I mean by that? Well, people can copy what you do in business and lay claim to it for their own, but they can't fake who you are. So my role is to help people discover, if some people, rephrase that, people have varying degrees of discovery. I like to believe I can dig deeper more effectively to discover another kernel of information that will add value to my particular guest. And I do that in this 30-minute session by starting off asking, what's your favorite pastime? Because that goes to your passion, which goes to who you are and the value of what you provide for your market. Now, I could say, tell me about yourself. Well, of course, I've been divorced 3 times. I've got 4 or 5 jobs I began and sold, and I've got 8 grandkids. It talks about that person, but anybody could talk perhaps that language at some point in their lifestyle. So we discuss by asking questions about one's favorite pastime, their passion, getting a picture of who they are. And then in the last 10 to 12 minutes, I'll go into their business. And in this instance, my guest today is
Roberta. Vigilance.
Vigilance. I like that last name. That being said, the concept being that the audience will get hopefully a good flavor, at least a glimpse of it, because 30 minutes is only 30 minutes, a glimpse of what we're doing here. Now, I have to admit that I have a pad which is currently blank, and I take notes. I was saying to Roberta earlier that I have a mind like a sieve. That may not be a good marketing technique, but I want to be honest about this. So I make notes. And at some point, I'll decide I have enough notes made, different dots to collect, that I can get an image to share back to Roberta and my audience what we're talking about. So let's start. Say to me, Roberta, am I saying your name correctly? Somehow,
Yeah,
okay,
that's fine.
fair enough.
Yep.
What's your favorite pastime?
My favorite thing to do is really nothing. I work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Work a lot, and anytime.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
I'm going to make a stab at this. I'm assuming that 3 to 4 to 5 years of age, you weren't necessarily working a lot hard. So I get what you're saying now, but can you help me out here with a timeline basis?
Right. So maybe you should rephrase that question so I could have a better understanding.
All right. Well, then, if you'd rather rephrase that. Most people I've spoken to, they said, I knew a guy who wanted to be a fireman from the day he was 6 years of age. He liked the flashy red trucks. He liked the sound of the engine. He didn't become a fireman, he became an attorney, which I guess is almost the same thing. But that was his beginning passion. And so I don't want to feed you options, but there may have been things you've enjoyed that may or may not seem distant, innocuous at this point, that grabbed a smile at you, you were more inclined to get involved with. If you say no, there was nothing I did until I became a high schooler, we can start at that point. But I want to walk away from your business or the escape from your business or sound down, call it what you want. But that's what I'm poking at here. Who is this lady who was a girl at one point?
Yeah, got you.
Concept.
Well, now that I understand it, and thank you for sharing, I would have never thought that's what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so growing up, I never thought about becoming anyone. It's just to go back a bit, I was born in the United States and I was raised outside of the United States. I was raised in Guyana, South America with my grandparents.
Okay.
Before the age of 2 till about a decade after, I returned to the States.
Okay.
Now, my lifestyle in Guyana was very structured. With my grandparents, I knew how to set a table. I was very quiet. No friends from school home. Church on Sundays. I had a seamstress. And that was it. That was my
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. Every evening, my family and I, my grandmother and my brother and I would gather around a radio and listen to the stories while drinking our Milo and our bread and peanut butter.
Right.
So
Excuse me, I like the accent you threw in there. Thank you very
yes,
much for the clarity
exactly.
on that.
Exactly, which we would say nut butter, by the way, which is peanut butter.
Okay.
So that was my lifestyle, very quiet. And then when I returned to the US, it was the concrete jungle. So between being raised in a reserve environment to an unstructured environment, I never said that I wanted to become something.
Mm-hmm.
I think I made a decision later in life when I said, okay, when I became this business owner, it seems like I just from children to I went from a child to a business owner.
Okay, interesting. Were you selling lemonade on the street corner? How does that work?
you know, no, in college, and this is a story too. So just when I when I returned to United States,
Mm-hmm.
it put me back
Excuse
to,
me, what age were you again when you came back
I
to the
think I was
States?
maybe 10, 11,
Okay.
maybe. I really don't remember, and I don't, we can't even
Close
remember the
close
year.
enough.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's about a decade.
Okay.
Um, so when I came, they put me back 2 grades behind because of my accent.
Mm.
Right? I used to say XYZ. And so it's like, no. So I remember having this teacher, Joseph. Her name was Roberta, as mine, Rosenthal.
Right.
And I was in the 3rd grade, supposed to be in the 5th grade, and she sat me down and she had this tape recorder and she thought I was like this genius. So
Mm.
she's just like her and I alone in this classroom.
Right.
Because I remember that because I even told my mother about it. So come to find out, I'm not a genius. It's like I'm supposed to be in the 5th grade,
Okay.
right? Here I am in 3rd. So I went to high school. I left high school in the
Excuse
10th.
me, did they actually boost you the 2 grades back up?
No,
Okay.
I left school. I dropped out in the 10th grade. I left.
Oh, I
Yeah.
missed that part.
Yeah, I left because there weren't any structure in the class. There wasn't any, the children. It was just they were rambunctious. The teachers. I wasn't learning anything.
Right.
So again, I think that reserve part of me kicked in. I left. I went straight to get my GED, which I think you must be a genius to pass your GED, not completing school. And I
Right.
passed with flying colors. And then I went into college. But I started, life went on. I left college, life went on. But
Now, excuse me, you say you left college, that means you did not complete your college training?
I went back and forth to college many
Okay.
times. I have a
I hear.
lot of credits. I have I have a lot of credits.
Okay.
Um,
Now,
when
when you left, what was your draw? What was your distraction? What was the methodology behind that?
Well, I went straight into nursing. My mom was in the field of nursing when she
Okay.
was in London, and she was a nurse. So coming from, I guess, the Guyanese background,
Right.
which is similar to the West Indian culture, uh, or we call it the West Indian culture.
Right.
You become a nurse or a teacher, I guess, or a lawyer.
Fair.
Mom was the nurse. So when I went to college to become a nurse, I didn't really like it.
Right.
It wasn't my thing. It really wasn't my thing. So I left. Um, you know, I just was doing whatever I wanted, pretty much to do. Uh,
Right.
Again, no structure, having no structure. I always worked, always had a job in sales, working in
Right.
sales from age 16, working in the supermarket, and then later on selling websites.
Mm-hmm.
So this was in like in 95. I started to sell websites for a company. The owner told me of that company, told me, listen, Roberta, you should go back to school.
Right.
I went back to school for business marketing and management. And that's when that's where I learned about planning events.
Can I interrupt? You
Yes.
say you were doing websites. Was that by choice, or what paid the bills? How does that work for you?
Great question. What paid the bills was the sales job.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was a young mother and I got on public assistance, the first generation.
Okay.
Of course, I was, my mom, I'm lower than dirt to my family because I'm the first, like, what? You got on public assistance. But I was pregnant. I lost my son's dad while I was pregnant.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. And it was tough. And the money that I made in sales, it just wasn't enough,
Mm-hmm.
um, even for me to leave home to live independently with my son. So,
Right.
um, but I stayed with Sil. I went back to school,
Mm-hmm.
and always trying to help. I was part of the school program, and that's where I actually learned that students wanted to get into the entertainment industry
Okay.
without compromising their integrity. During the time, so I'm a single mom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling websites.
Right.
I back in school, and I'm part of a school club. And I also at that time I worked on a celebrity project where I met celebrities, and what I realized is that working on that project, celebrities were products.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
That was that a self-determined subject to work with celebrities, or does the teacher assign you there as a consideration? Rephrase it. Did you wake up in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning and say, I'm going to do a project with celebrities? Or was there something about that concept that drew you?
No, so as I was working at the company where I sold websites,
Yes.
I met this young lady. Her name is Sebastian, and
Right.
she came in to meet with the owner. And I was covering the front desk for the receptionist. She was out to the restroom or somewhere because I was
Right.
working in sales. So I'm at the front desk covering for her. When Sebastian comes in, and as she sat there, she was waiting or stood there, she was waiting on the to see the founder of the
Right.
company. I guess we noticed that both of us had an accent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are you from? I told her I was raised in Guyana, and she had the strong Jamaican accent. So she's
Right.
like, I like your personality. She's like, I'm working on this hip hop calendar with celebrities, but I'm very shy. I need someone to talk to the celebrities and tell them about my project so they can be a part of it. And
Mm-hmm.
again, being helpful, I'm like, sure. Sure, I'll do it. Like, I don't have enough going on here. So I decided to do that, and went out with her, and that's when I realized, like, the movers and shakers were the people who were working behind the scenes to make this celebrity to sell and do whatever it is that they do, um,
Right.
which was fine. So the students, simultaneously, I was in school, so the students who did not want to compromise their integrity, what I did is I said I'll do a seminar. It was
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment Industry Network seminar. Joseph, I knew nothing about planning events. When I say I learned how to plan events there, I mean I self-taught myself. I
Right.
taught myself how to do this. Just passion led, and wanted to help this community. And I realized, oh, okay, so events cost money.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into my community
Right.
to get money to cover the cost. All the businesses that said, yes, we'll give you the money, because I said, what I'll do for you is put you in front of your target audience. I'm going to bring you up close and personal. That was my pitch.
Right.
Close and personal in exchange for the money that you're giving to me. Because
Right.
I don't like hands out. Obviously, I do not like hands out. That welfare situation, I really needed it. I really needed the help, but I don't believe in just hands out. I think there should always be a give and take.
Okay.
Okay. So that's one. So I decided to plan the events. Now I needed more money as I continued to do part one event, part two events, and other shows for different demographics within my community who wanted to get and become models or singers, or basically that's what my events were focused on, was helping this community to get to this point.
I hear that. It sounds like we're sliding into the second portion of my program for different reasons. First off, I mentioned to the audience, I'll take notes because I have a mind like a sieve. Well, here's my note sheet now and it's filled up, so I can't ask you any more questions. So we have to now talk about shifting the focus here to who you are as a business owner. Before I say that, we're going to go to commercial break, folks, that we do have posted in the YouTube format, description of what Roberta does and descriptions of what I do. And I say YouTube. We go out, if you don't know this, we go out to Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Alignable, which will probably pick up that same description. So for those of you who want to learn more about Roberta, what she does as a business, and we'll talk about that very shortly, or learn about myself in terms of what I do as a business, discover more about your secret sauce, or share comments, if nothing else, and share it with everybody else that you can think of. We do audit your comments, and we really want to hear back from you. I'll say good and bad. Indifference means nothing to me, but if you have a comment, whether it's agreeable or not, please share it so we can learn from it. We can grow about it also. That being said, I'm going to give a little thought of my observation to date with Roberta before we talk about her business. And I'm going to start from the tail end and work back, actually from the beginning. So we have a young lady at the time, a young girl perhaps, who grew up or was born in this country for different reasons, went out of country. And you're young enough that culture shock may or may not have been an issue, but certainly you were brought up in a fairly strict environment. My wife is Jamaican also. So I get totally the concept of the expectation of females, and I'll say that deliberately, in the world around us. And so I could understand that your lifestyle was structured. I'll say it like that. And probably you didn't have much choice in that one way or the other. Excuse me. And so but it's a strong culture. It's what it was. And it could be very, it's a slippery slope. And I hate to say it like that, but one can get really caught up in that lifestyle concept, particularly if you don't have choices, in all fairness to the world around us. But somehow you came back, for whatever the reason, back to the States. Now, that was the culture shock, I would think, because now you're a little bit older, you have much more awareness, and you go from a somewhat confined or deliberate lifestyle to maybe this, it's all over the place. And I'm being generally vague about that. But what I find as a concept, that you went to school, you talked about the first of, I said, I think dropping out of school. I forget how that worked. And at a fairly young age, for whatever the distraction may have been, pregnant perhaps at the time, and you had responsibilities perhaps at the time, and you had to handle that. And
No.
no, I was too soon for that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't pregnant at all in high school. No.
Okay, fair enough. I lost track of the time frame, and I do apologize for that.
No.
Concept, but at some point you did. I think you went back and got your GED, though. You did say that.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to push through this one by making a general observation. You had obstacles, and you had obstacles that could easily let you to be a statistic, and you chose not to be.
Right.
Also, part of it was, I think, by choice. So you had, at some point, you had to raise money, you had to support yourself, your child, at some point in your lifestyle, but it didn't defeat you. You would take a break. Some people would call it an excuse to slide off down the slope further. You pulled yourself together. You came back again. on the educational side. And it wasn't once, twice, maybe 3 or 4 times that at some point, and I'm laughing because at some point you were bumped back 2 years because of, quote, your language. We could say that differently. That my wife, again, they were going to bump her back because she came from Jamaica.
Mm.
And maybe there's certain assumptions besides the language, maybe not. Who's to say? But that's important because you make the decision, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm going to walk again. And some could say, perhaps, well, you're running away, your style, your nature. No, you were looking for something that wasn't better than what was not working for you at the moment. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. And if I'm too far off, please let me know. I don't want to go off the deep
No,
end.
you're spot on. I did make that decision because it wasn't structured. I was, I went to school. I wasn't learning anything. I spent more time at hooky parties.
Okay, I hear that. Now, that's part of the point I want to say. Geez, a young
Into
adult.
music. Yeah.
You define it very well. People don't think seriously, I'm not learning anything. It's more, I'm having fun. And so that stage of your life, you had an awareness factor. You made a deliberate decision. You had other obligations, responsibilities. Very easy to get caught up in the moment. And again, become what I say, a statistic. But you didn't yet know your path. I think your favorite, they say, what's your passion or your favorite pastime? I think you did exploration. There is clearly some thought behind it, not necessarily with clarity, but you had at least an awareness what was not working for you. And you made a decision that rather become a statistic or victim, you're going to find something else better out there. And so maybe the passion might be the quest for the Holy Grail, as they would say, that there must be something better. I'll keep poking at this until I either stumble into it, find it, or make it happen. Take any of the above, perhaps, concept excuse me, as it comes to me. That while in school, the tradition may have been, again, as a woman, become either a nun, a nurse, or a teacher. Talking to my wife, that's kind of how that worked for her. And I suspect that kind of worked for you at different times. But you made a deliberate decision. This is not working for you. And your rebellion was to always move forward as opposed to slide back. And that's how I'm seeing this. Again, I'm referring to my notes. You talked about being on public assistance. And you say it in a manner that, not that you're necessarily proud about it, but you can tease yourself about it. And that tells me about you that you're transparent enough, you are able to critique yourself enough, not in a demeaning manner, but you can acknowledge who you are. You can be aware of what's not working for you, and you'll use that. You can now smile about it. It may not have been a smiley thing back then. And so, well, hey, that's what it was, working for me. I set a novelty part of the feminine lifestyle, but with that, because of it, despite that, I'm moving forward again. And that's what I'm hearing here in dialogue. I'm referring back to my notes again, folks. So that all comes down to the phrase I have written down as a deliberate opportunist. That's how I would define you. Because now you're covering somebody who's going for a lunch break, and it turns out that the person's coming in to do nothing at all to do with you, the reception's at the front desk. There's some dialogue going on. The person is drawn to your style, your persona, and you have further dialogue. And at that point, I suspect a lightning struck you. Bells started chiming in the background, says, this is kind of what it might be all about. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Absolutely not.
Well, correct me on that. Tell me.
So two things. So one, at the hooky parties, my mentality, it was never fun.
Okay.
I was always there. I knew the person who kept it, and I always had my own corner.
Right.
To music and not being bothered. That was
right.
While everyone is dancing, having a good time. It's the music. I'm a music lover.
Okay.
Even in Guyana.
Excuse me, folks. See, she does have a passion, although she won't admit to it. So, okay, now we know you're a music lover.
I'm a music lover. My entire family, they are something with music. Either
right.
disco. Usually it's all the time, I should say, it was always an event that they would have. They're not singers, or anything, but we would have the parties
Right.
at Owner Club. But and even now, my son, an adult son, he MCs events. Like it's these things with music. I'm a music lover.
I get
But
that.
with her, no. It was never these celebrities let me work. It was like her passion, her energy. Joseph was so full, and the talk, and I can tell. I'm like, okay, I'll help you because I knew she was passionate about her project, and I knew for me, I was not afraid or timid to walk up on anyone to talk about business. Now,
Okay.
on when it comes to personal stuff, I may be timid,
Mm-hmm.
but when I have to handle business, I'm not timid at all. So
Okay.
I said I can use that strength to help her, and
I
that's
hear that.
like okay, now
Uh,
yeah.
Yes, my very words exactly. Thank you for clarifying that for myself and the audience. I appreciate that. But what you again alluded to the fact was not to be deterred because it was something new, that your history has been move forward in a manner that's workable, productive, that has a future to it and a positive side as opposed to a negative side. And that's the concept of what I'm getting here. So with that being said, and again, not everybody has the intrinsic ability to get out and meet people, dialogue with people. And to me, it's kind of a mismatch. On the one hand, because of the setbacks you've had, the struggles you've had, that could wear some people down. I'm hearing now it's even make you stronger because it's a catalyst for you rather than a barrier or an obstacle. It's a challenge that draws you intrinsically, not because, hey, I love challenges, but you weren't deterred. And so you saw here something that was somewhat in common, what draws you. You realize that her hesitation, expressed or not, really could be of value to her, if I'm hearing this correctly. And so you moved forward. So the concept being is that, and I have written down here fearless. I'm using different words that popped in my mind. I have flexible opportunist, sorry for that, on the accent, on syllable. I say self-taught. You're prepared to teach yourself, learn yourself, to move forward. Always, always to move forward. And the other aspect of who you are, and you're very deliberate about this, that you don't like handouts, that there has to be value provided to the market to justify what you're doing. And asking is not necessarily value to that other person, unless they feel strongly in what you do. You want to add additional value. Here's what I'm providing in exchange for. So you're negotiating value for value. And I get that concept back. Any thoughts on that in terms of where I am? And I'm watching my time because I have really been rambling here.
Oh,
So let me ask you this. What is it that you do that people should know about as a business?
and just to say, yes, you are spot on. I do believe in trading value for value. That's very important. As a business, actually, that's what my business is about, sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
Trading value for value. I help my clients secure sponsors. And what that is, it's let's say someone is planning an event like I did, and I needed money to fund that event, or they need money to fund their event. Then there are corporations and businesses and organizations and different entities that will pay to cover the cost of that event, whether
Mm-hmm.
is it pay in its entirety or pay a portion. So in exchange for paying for that event, that entity needs something in return. So
Okay.
if they pay, let's say, $1,000, they need $1,000 back in benefits, whether that benefits come through visibility, branding, or such. It doesn't matter what amount the deal is. It could be less, it could be more, but you have to give back value for
Mm-hmm.
what you receive. Out it's nothing like a donation where they give you money and you write it off. No, let's get rid of that off the table.
Mm-hmm.
This sponsorship is trading value for value. So
Okay.
for example, when I did
I'm going to interrupt because you've got about 30 seconds left here.
okay,
So
okay.
let me give an impression. Many people could say what you do in terms of they do also better. What you bring to the table is a legacy. You were born to be this. It wasn't something that you took courses for because it was an easy course to take or major to do. You believe in overcoming obstacles, both for the entity looking to publicize itself and both for the company that would sponsor it. And you will find in some manner something that will work for them, because that's been your life, something that works for you and your family. And it's not because you're just struggling. The value you provide, the connection with that lady that got you started in this direction, was a history behind that. So for people who aren't sure how to spend their money, I would say that you are the go-to person for somebody who does your program, what you offer your environment. Again, we try to honor our clock and look for her link in terms of the skills she has. Look for my link and the skills that I have. Please, for my website, subscribe and share it with us, not just your friends, but also your associates. I really want to thank you for being a part of this program. We could have done this for another 40 minutes easy and still not cover everything. Thank you very much for being a guest, Roberta.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Folks, again, please come back again.